Next up, we have Marrisa and Teresa Haight. And I was in Bath, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. They had a forum there, and I heard Marrisa speak, and it's a very powerful story. And she's going to share her personal story, and not just how it affects the person that's using, but the collateral damage it creates for the family and everything else. So, thank you very much.
I'm actually going to tell you a story about a girl I know. She'll be mad at me for telling you, but she walks through life fearing of being judged and being ashamed of herself. Let me start by painting a picture for you. I've known this girl since we were practically babies. She grew up with two fantastic parents who were never short of love for her and her older brother. From what I could see, any kid would be blessed to have grown up like her. This girl did every sport imaginable from first grade to 12. She was one of the top runners in cross country. She played softball, indoor soccer, basketball, and she also snowboarded with ski club every year since 4th grade. Needless to say, she was a very well-rounded girl. And to be completely honest, she had an extremely likable personality. If you knew her, you knew she was the girl who was friends with everybody and loved by everybody. This would soon start to change. Soon came the day when the girl was in the swimming locker room and her best friend crushed up a pill. Knowing this girl, I hoped she would tell me she didn't do it, but she did. I was as let down as you. Fast forward 6 months. We're back in swimming class. She was all dressed up for her basketball game. She was showing her friend her new shoes and hit the floor. Later, we learned that she had a seizure from taking tramadol pills. Fast forward again, almost exactly 1 year later. She's in my first period English class. She raises her hand and starts talking about echoes. We all thought it was weird until she laid her head on her best friend's lap and started seizing. The kid behind her said, "Just let her die. She did it to herself anyways." What do you know? The seizure was caused by tramadol again, and she was given quite a few months of suspension at this point. June 2010, she graduates 15th in her class, and her sights were set on a psychology degree at Mansfield University. The girl made it through her first year of college doing great, but nobody knew she was using prescription painkillers on an almost daily basis. We're now in her second year of college, and it is here where this bright, young, loving girl tries heroin for the first time. I stand here before you wishing I could tell you that this girl I know tried the heroin, realized how bad it really was, and did everything possible to turn around and run the other way. However, the story actually takes the darker path. She began snorting heroin for nearly 8 months before resorting to injecting it. This is a girl who swore every day that she would never use needles. That was lower than low, but addiction has no conscience. Thankfully, after her 5th semester at Mansfield, she was to the point where she was selling heroin, making trips to Williamsport almost every other day to buy more, putting herself in absolutely horrific situations, having guns pulled on her, dealing with people that nobody in their right mind should be around, let alone a little 22-year-old girl. Her mother starts to catch on that there is something going on, and thankfully, she pulled her out of college. I was so relieved when her mother pulled her out. I had unfortunately prepared myself for the fact that this girl was going to die if she didn't leave school, those people, or that environment. A couple months after she was pulled out of college, the girl started dating a kid that her whole family did not approve of. She didn't care. She didn't care that she was severing the ties to her mother, brother, or grandparents, even when her grandfather, the man who raised her, started getting ill. The heroin came back into the picture not soon after this toxic relationship began. Almost a year into this relationship, the girl's grandfather lost his battle to cancer, and she was devastated. That day, the girl went and bought a brick of heroin and did not care if she lived or died. For the first time in her life, she was giving up on life. Addiction robbed her morals, her values, her conscience. She shared with me that she was even shooting up in the bathroom of her grandpa's funeral. Her relationship with this boy ended shortly after. However, she was still battling to survive her addiction. She was now putting herself in the worst of situations. She was so numb to life by this point, so broken, so hurt, she developed a complex. She acted as if she was a 200-pound man, doing deals with horrible people, guns held to her head. She even found herself nearly being raped trying to buy some heroin. It was at this point that she was staying in a friend's apartment because her mother had kicked her out. That friend was very much against drugs, but that didn't stop the girl. She just got good at being sneaky and would use the heroin while her friend wasn't home. Until one day, alone in the apartment, she shot up a little too much and laid there on the couch while the life left her body. The girl in the story is me, or it was me, because that's not me anymore. You know, I love the phrase, "you don't look like an addict." If I don't look like an addict because I wasn't raised poor in a loveless family or look grungy, then I never will. But I wore a mask like Freddy Krueger, always becoming someone different on the outside when under the mask I was ugly, broken, and sad. Now I'm a recovering addict, and as some of you here know, I'm not shy or ashamed of it. And now I'm going to talk about my road to recovery.